Hey guys, welcome to our first video on an introduction to Python programming for machine learning. I'm Tajwar,
And I'm Michael.
and let's get started. So we broke this lesson into a bunch of sections. So obviously we're going to start off with section 1, Intro to Python. So how do we cause a program to learn? There's two common programming languages that are used for machine learning, which are Python and R. We're going to be focusing on Python in this club, which is a good language for like beginners. So how we use Python is that we input instructions to an interpreter, and then the interpreter prints results back based on a request. We can make use of several data types, numbers, words, and objects in Python to instruct the interpreter as well as produce procedures in Python's core library. We want you to follow along in our Google Colab by pressing the link in the box.
Exactly, it's infinitely better than Scratch.
Definitely. So first we're going to be learning about this one single command called print. So by running this command, we can print out whatever data type we want into the interactive window, otherwise known as the console. So try running the first cell in the Colab notebook, known as cell. Uh,
So in Collaboratory, there are two types of cells. There are text cells and there are code cells. In text cells, you use something called Markdown to create bullet points, headings, lists, and paragraphs in order to emphasize different parts and let the user follow along. With code cells, you place a piece of Python in them and you run with Shift Enter or you press the play button to run. They will execute as fast as possible with the use of a GPU. Alright, back to the video.
Code cell.
So right over here, we have our collab, and the print method will be able to print whatever we have inside these parentheses. Right now we have the classic hello world, which everyone puts in whenever they're learning a new programming language. And this is a environment called Google Colab. When we connect to the sort of the local RAM, random access memory, and disk that this little kind of computer has, we'll be able to run any Python instruction. So we're going to run anyway, and it prints hello world. So, well, welcome to the world. We've given birth to Python.
So we want you to like test it, do whatever you want, print out anything, your name, your favorite number, favorite game. But remember, it has to be in quotation marks.
Exactly. If it's a number, it doesn't have to be, but like anything that has words in it has to be in quotation marks.
Yeah,
So, Tajwar, what's your favorite game?
Call of Duty, Black Ops 3. Yes, data.
And boom, it's printed right here. And that's how we can print things. And of course, my favorite number isn't the very famous one, but let's print the number 23 because it's a nice prime, and there we have it.
So Python has different data types. Now, there's a bunch of data types where I think we talked about it, right? So an integer or an int is a mathematical integer, any positive or negative number with no fractional component. So it would be any number like 1, 3, -7, anything like that, a 0, 2. A string, as we said before, is like a word. It's trapped in quotation marks. A float would be a mathematical like decimal, like 3.14, 18.9. A list is a container of different data types. For example, in Python specifically, you can have a list of different data types. We'll go into that later, but for now, know that it's a container of different data types. That could be like strings, ints, or floats. And a function is a Python procedure that holds a piece of reusable code.
Yeah, exactly. So a function can run different print statements, and you can use it if you just call the function, you don't have to write print 1,000 times. So it makes it very easy. So one thing we can do in our collab right here is create some variables. So the first thing actually before we like put our string here and run our hello there is learn how to use a comment. A comment starts with this little pound symbol, and of course you follow along if you want to look at the visual. And here this says learn how to use f strings. F strings are very useful in Python, and we are definitely going to learn how to use f strings. But using this little hash symbol, if we run this, it won't cause an error because the compiler just thinks, oh, this is like not important. But in fact, this helps us remember that we need to learn how to use f strings. We can also start with variables. So this value x here has the number 5, and we can do some operations. So Tajwar, what is x plus 5?
Oh man, a 10?
Yes, excellent, because x stores the value of 5, so this is 5 plus 5, and it's equal to 10. It's
Right.
pretty simple, but we have this mystery operator right here, which is double asterisks. This is just a simple shorthand syntax for exponent. So this says, what is x squared? And that is 25. And then we can also chain different multiples together, different operations. So that this is x times 2 times 4. So in essential, it's saying, what's x times 8? And Tajwar, do you know that?
40. Wow. Never mind.
Yeah, you're the mathematical genius.
Uh-huh.
We can also work with decimals. So this is it's also known as a floating point number because you have numbers after the points. You have the number 2.5, and we can do the exact same thing we did with integers. So 2.5 plus 5 is 7.5, and then we can do 2.5 squared, and then we can multiply it by 10 to get 6.25 and all the different mathematical computations you need. Furthermore, we can do something with variables known as creating f strings, and this is very useful. If you have a string right here, which is, remember, words wrapped in quotation marks, we can put the f outside of it, and then we can put a variable. So the variable name right here, we have the seconds, which holds the value 6,000. And we can compute number of minutes in 6,000 seconds by dividing 6,000 by 60. And if we put the variable name mins in here, this will say the total minutes is whatever 6,000 divided by 60 is, without it just saying mins. So the total minutes is 100, because 6,000 divided by 60 is 100. You can also do any operation inside these little brackets as like a variable you can hold. We also want you to do these exercises, which you can do on your own time by opening your Collaboratory environment, by just familiarizing with operations. Okay? So Tajwar is going to finish you up with the rest of variables.
All right, so as Michael said, we just actually kind of went over variables. So here are a few examples. Here, x is equal to 2.5, which is a floating number. So if you call x, it'll be 2.5, no matter what, unless you change it. And here, variable name is equal to Michael. So whenever you call name, it will be Michael. And remember, all string variables must be in quotation marks, double quotes, or single quotes. I think we'll get to that some other time. In list, you can, it has, in this list, which is composed of ints, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So lists have to be surrounded in brackets. And when you call list, it will print out 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes. And of course, it must be surrounded in brackets.
Yeah. And we just kind of went over basic arithmetic, but let's recap. So with integers and floats, you can perform basic mathematical operations on them: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponentiation. There's another one called floor division, which rounds the quotient to the nearest integer. And there's one called modulo, which just gives like the remainder, I guess. And you can also possibly find min and max of two numbers by using the min parentheses and max parentheses functions. Rounding can also be done using the round command. Basic operations with lists can be also done. For example, finding the max and min in an item in a list can be done using the min or max functions, and sorting a list can be done with the sorted function.
Yeah, it's very very informative, Tajwar. One thing one thing also is that the floor division will do exactly what it says. It will floor the integer. Well, if we actually do like 5 divided by 3, that would give a value of, I think, 2.3.
Which rounds the quotient to the nearest integer.
No, no, I know that. 5 divided by 3 is 1.66667. However, when you do 5 floor divided by 3, it just give the answer of 1. So it will discard any decimal points. Round will give you the value of like 2. And then you also have these exercises, which you can experiment with the max functions and experiment with rounding. And that will be it for us. Thank you for watching our Introduction to Python Programming Part 1. In the next episode, Tajwa and I will be covering comparisons, so don't forget to watch it. And don't forget to watch our latest episodes on the Bronx Science Machine Learning Club. We've done demonstrations on the random walk and on programming your own tic-tac-toe game, so watch those as well. See you soon.